Hi, everybody. I'm David Fogel. I'm CEO and co-founder of the Symphonina Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit with a mission of spreading the joy of symphonic music to young audiences around the world. And I'm here today with Julie Vivaldo, clarinet player from the Los Angeles area. Julie, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you today?
We're doing great. We've got an album coming up, and I want to thank you again for helping make it as great as it is. Julie just finished playing clarinet for two of our symphoninas on the album, one by Christopher Reed and the other by Steve Locks. They were the winner and runner-up in our Best Symphonina of the Year competition for last year. And before I go any further, I should say we do have a competition coming up for this year too. So if you're an orchestral composer watching this, and you'd like to think about entering, just go to symphonina.org. That's symphonina.org. I do have that memorized by now, don't I? So, and you'll find all the information there. You can always email me at david.fogel@symphonina.org also. And Julie, thank you again. So let's start by asking a basic question. When did you first pick up a clarinet and start playing, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I actually started when I was 10 years old. So my mom actually played clarinet in high school, and her sister played clarinet. So they just kind of had a clarinet laying around, and it was like a generational clarinet, right? So they passed it down. And then once it came time for me to join fifth grade band, everyone had to join band in fifth grade. I was like, you know what? I want to be like my mom, and I want to play the clarinet. So she passed down her clarinet to me. So that's when I started. I was about 10 years old, I believe. So I did fifth grade bands, and then I did band again in middle school, then band in high school. And then I loved it so much, I ended up pursuing it in college and as a career. So I've been playing for about 14 years now. Oh my gosh, that's kind of crazy. So I've been playing for
Yeah,
about 14 years.
that's great. So did you, so you can see I'm a saxophone player also. I play clarinet, piano and guitar too. I did try a little clarinet. My dad was a great clarinet player.
Uh-huh.
But I have to tell you, I have that much respect for every musician who masters their instrument. But for me, the clarinet was much, much, much more difficult than the saxophone. So one, have you ever tried saxophone? And two, do you agree with me? The clarinet is kind of a challenging instrument, and you have to devote yourself to it really to be very good at it.
Yes, number one, I did try saxophone. I was actually in a saxophone methods class in college, and it was so easy. Like I was able to learn the songs like that. I think just the embouchure is a bit different.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm just biased, but personally, I do think that the saxophone is a bit easier than the clarinet. At least for me, going from clarinet to sax, the sax was so much easier, at least to catch on because I was used to the reed instruments. So
Yeah. Have you ever played a double reed like an oboe or a bassoon?
yes, I did do tech classes in college as well. I tried oboe and I tried bassoon, and then both of the professors said, "You play too much like a clarinetist." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense." But
Right.
also, the double lip is quite hard. Like, for those of you that don't know, double lip, a bit challenging, especially if you're not used to it. So it was a challenge. I definitely play clarinet a lot better than I do
That's what
the
I hear
double
too.
reed.
I've never tried that, but yeah. So, so 15, 14 years into it, when did you decide you wanted to really be serious and try to become a professional clarinet player?
Good question. I actually remember the exact moment. So it was my freshman year of high school. So what happened was there was an all-region band. I'm originally from Arizona, so there was an all-region band, and I was just one of those people always like wanting to go for a challenge, right? So my band director is like, "Okay, we have this all-region band. Everyone in the region is going to be auditioning, and whoever gets the audition." They basically compose like a band of the best players in the region, and they put on a concert. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I was really passionate about practicing and like working really hard. And I barely got in. I think I was like 28th chair out of 30. But I was very excited about it because, again, I was, quite young. And I'm like, you know what? I want the experience of being able to play with other people that are just as serious about music as I am. They also took the time to practice and to go to an audition and spend like their whole Saturday putting together this concert. So anyway, I remember we were performing selections from West Side Story, and it was such a great concert. Just being surrounded by other musicians that are passionate about music, and we got a standing ovation. And I just remember in that moment, I'm like, I cannot see myself doing anything else. Like the feeling you get after a performance, especially you play music that you love. I personally love West Side Story, my favorite movie ever. And it was just a phenomenal moment, like being able to share something like that with an audience, being surrounded by other musicians and learning from them. So yeah, it was like my freshman year of high school is when I decided that I wanted to pursue clarinet as a career. And here I am 14 years later.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you have your clarinet with you?
I do have it with me.
Let's hear it. You can play anything you like. Just let's have a little sample of what the clarinet sounds like for people.
Okay, let's just do like a quick scale.
Yeah,
Going through
sure.
the
Let's see.
ranges.
Yeah.
So there's
All
a
right.
scale.
So I have to tell you there the sound dropped out as you were playing, but you know
Oh,
what we can do? I have some excerpts of you playing clarinet, and I tell you what I'm gonna put a little bit of Julie playing clarinet at the end of the video on our outro, so people can appreciate some of the things that you were performing for us.
oh, okay. Sounds
So
good. Sorry about that. Or else
it's okay.
check out my TikTok
We
too.
So let's talk about your TikTok channel. This is how I found Julie, by the way. I searched all over for new talent for our International Symphonina Orchestra, which has young and experienced players from all over the world. People as famous as Oleg Spoychik from Ukraine, who's our concertmaster, can play 3 violins at one time and was runner-up in Ukraine's Got Talent, to people who are just out of high school and wanting to have a professional career. And I found Julie on TikTok. So how did you get into social media and decide to have a clarinet channel?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually started TikTok in 2020 during the pandemic because there was nothing going on. There was no performances, and I had no motivation to play my instrument. And I think a lot of people were on the same boat as me. You know, it was a very tough time. Schools were closed, no one was working, we weren't seeing anyone. There was a toilet paper shortage. Like it was just a rough time, right?
Right.
So I knew like I wanted to do something, like I wanted to just share my music, right? I wanted to have some sort of an audience. So I got really serious about it in 2020 and started posting videos. And then I had a couple go viral. If you check out my TikTok, I made a video about moldy reeds, which, by the way, your reeds can get mold. And that video just kind of exploded. And then a lot of people were very interested in like music and like learning popular songs. So a couple other my videos that have gone viral is of, you know, me sharing the notes on how to play certain popular songs that are trending and things like that. So it really just started out as like an outlet for me to really just be able to share my music, share my education to other people. But I really didn't expect it to take off like it did. So I'm really thankful, you know, for having like TikTok, and I still post frequently and trying to get, you know, people excited about the clarinet, because the clarinet doesn't only do Mozart. You could play Dua Lipa on the clarinet. You could play Billie Eilish. Like you're able to really like do whatever you want. And I wanted to be able to share that beauty with, you know, especially the younger generations, and just to keep it relevant. So that's where my TikTok is at now. And it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy sharing and uploading videos.
That sounds good. So how frequently do you post a new video?
So I try to do it at least once a week. Of course, I just did a move, so I haven't been as active, but at least like 1 or 3 times a week. I'm trying to do it more so. But, you know, basically you could find me active on there at least once a week or so.
And should they somebody who wants to find you just search for your name, Julie Vivaldo, or what would be a good way to find you on TikTok?
Yes, either Julie Vivaldo, or my username is at juliev.music. You'll be able to find me on there.
Okay. Now, do you teach clarinet too? If people are in the area or over Zoom, is that something that you do or would like to do?
I don't at the moment, you know, just because I have these other music projects, and they take a lot of time. So at the moment, I am taking a break from teaching. I was a teacher in Arizona for a couple of years, but I'm not teaching at the moment. But I do share, you know, some tips and things like that, and do share teaching tips on my TikTok and on YouTube as well. I started posting more videos on YouTube as well. I recently uploaded a video on how to correctly put together your instrument, and I hope to do more tutorials on there. So there's also another outlet for you to learn if you would like to.
That sounds great. So you mentioned growing up in Arizona, and you mentioned playing band in Arizona. So I have to hope that you didn't have to do too much marching band in 110-degree weather with your clarinet. How did that go? Did you have to do that?
Oh, yeah.
You did. Oh, God.
Yeah, but good thing I had a plastic clarinet, so I didn't have to worry about
Really?
my wooden clarinet catching on fire or cracking. But
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Saxophone, we
yeah,
don't have to worry about that, but yeah.
yeah.
Goodness.
So we
Okay.
did 110-degree weather, band camp, everything. I did marching band for 5 years. So I did 4 years in high school, a fifth in college. And then when I was a teacher, I was like an assistant marching band director. So of course we were outside. But yes, we were marching in 110-degree weather.
So I'm sure that was more taxing than whatever I asked you to do for the Symphonina project. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience recording for us and maybe your most memorable experience as a musician?
Yeah, so recording for the project was so much fun. And it's funny because it's very different. And I remember talking to my husband about it. My husband's a film composer, and he's like, yeah, I listen to all these podcasts of professional musicians. And like the minute you have to sit there and record by yourself, not in an ensemble, the minute you sit there and record by yourself, it's so different than sitting with a band or an orchestra with a conductor, right? Because you're listening to the metronome instead of watching someone wave their baton, and then you're having to get everything right in time with the clicks. So it's definitely different. I feel like you have to kind of channel in different senses when you're sitting with an orchestra live rather than sitting by yourself and recording. So I definitely learned some very valuable skills, like how important it really is to stick to a metronome, and then also, just being able to stay in tune and this and that. So honestly, I learned so much, and it was such a good experience, like for me as a musician.
That's
So
great. That's great. Yeah,
it was a lot of
you did great. You did great. And I think for those who you don't have to be a pro, to be doing recording, but I will say practicing your exercises, whatever instrument it is, with the metronome makes it easier when it comes time to following the click that someone's going to give you, that you're going to be playing along with somebody else, because you're already thinking about what it is to be in the groove and what it feels like when you're not, right? And then also
fun.
your recording setup, to make sure that you have a good quality recording sound that you can provide to the producer, and not too soft, not too loud, all that kind of stuff, would be good. So practice a little bit if you're into recording and you're watching, and get your setup the way you want it, so that when someone calls on you, you're ready to go. Okay, what was your most memorable experience as a musician?
Yeah, I've had a couple, but I'll share a more recent one. So I'm a clarinetist with a community group, the Los Angeles Symphonic Winds. So we perform for the community. And recently we had a concert at UCLA. We kind of did like a joint concert with them. And we played pictures at an exhibition by Mussorgsky, and we had a standing ovation. And it was just such a monumental moment for me, because I've always dreamed about, living in LA and being able to grow up and like play with other talented musicians. So it was just such a phenomenal moment for me, because it was one of my first couple of concerts here in Los Angeles. And I just remember, 10-year-old me who started on clarinet, like one of those things where I hope, she would be proud of me. And I know she would be proud of me, just, now that I'm 24 years old and I haven't given up yet, because it's really hard to pursue music. And it's one of those things that I was just always passionate about, and I never wanted to give up. So I think just performing in that concert, getting that standing ovation, performing at UCLA with all these other talented musicians, it was just such a beautiful moment for me that kind of reinforced, like, this is why I worked so hard all those years. Like, this is why I have not given up yet, and I will not give up. But it was just like a beautiful moment for me.
That's a great story and inspiration for everybody else too. And I want to thank you again for helping us make a great album that'll be released probably, I would say, around August 31 or September 1, that we're going to submit for Grammy consideration and hopefully get a nomination. We'll see how that goes. And Julie, thank you so much for all your help and your time and your patience with me too, as we've been going through this for the last 3 weeks doing the recordings. And if anybody would like to get in touch with Julie, reach out to her through TikTok, right? Is there an email that you'd like to give as well?
Yeah, either TikTok, Instagram. My username is the same, @juliev.music, or my music email address. You could catch me at julievivaldomusic@gmail.com, but DMs work perfectly.
There you go. All right, everybody. I'm going to sign off here. It's David Fogel for the Symphonina Foundation. Thank you, Julie. You can reach me at david.fogel@symphonina.org, and I'll be sure that our video expert, Jay Isaacson, who helps us out, gets a little of Julie's clarinet for the outro. And we'll see you next time. Stay tuned for more. Thanks, Julie.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.